Bible in a Year, Day 16, readings from the Holy Bible, Genesis chapters 31 and 32, Job chapters 21 and 22, Genesis chapter 31. Flight from Laban. Jacob heard that Laban's sons were saying, Jacob has taken everything that belonged to our father, and he has produced all this wealth from our father's property. Jacob perceived too that Laban's attitude toward him was not what it had previously been. Then the Lord said to Jacob, Return to the land of your ancestors, where you were born, and I will be with you. So Jacob sent for Rachel and Leah to meet him in the field where his flock was. There he said to them, I have noticed that your father's attitude toward me is not as it was in the past, but the God of my father has been with me. You know well that with all my strength I served your father. Yet your father cheated me and changed my wages 10 times. God, however, did not let him do me any harm. Whenever your father said, The speckled animals will be your wages, the entire flock would bear speckled young. Whenever he said, The streaked animals will be your wages, the entire flock would bear streaked young. So God took away your father's livestock and gave it to me. Once during the flock's mating season, I had a dream in which I saw he goats mating that was streaked, speckled, and mottled. In the dream, God's angel said to me, Jacob, and I replied, Here I am. Then he said, Look up and see, all the he goats that are mating are streaked, speckled, and mottled, for I have seen all the things that Laban has been doing to you. I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed a sacred pillar and made a vow to me. Get up now, leave this land and return to the land of your birth. Rachel and Leah answered him, Do we still have an heir's portion in our father's house? Are we not regarded by him as outsiders? He not only sold us, he has even used up the money that he got for us. All the wealth that God took away from our father really belongs to us and our children. So whatever God has told you, Jacob so do whatever God has told you. Jacob proceeded to put his children and wives on camels, and he drove off all his livestock and all the property he had acquired in Padan Aram to go to his father Isaac in the land of Canaan. Now Laban was away shearing his sheep, and Rachel had stolen her father's household images. Jacob had hoodwinked Laban the Aramean by not telling him that he was going to flee. Thus he fled with all that he had. Once he was across the Euphrates, he headed for the hill country of Gilead. On the third day, word came to Laban that Jacob had fled. Taking his kinsmen with him, he pursued him for 7 days until he caught up with him in the hill country of Gilead. But that night God appeared to Laban the Aramean in a dream and said to him, Take care not to say anything to Jacob. Jacob and Laban and Gilead. When Laban overtook Jacob, Jacob's tents were pitched in the hill country. Laban also pitched his tents in the hill country of Gilead. Laban said to Jacob, How could you hoodwink me and carry off my daughters like prisoners of war? Why did you dupe me by stealing away secretly? You did not tell me. I would have sent you off with joyful singing to the sound of tambourines and harps. You did not even allow me a parting kiss to my daughters and grandchildren. Now what you have done makes no sense. I have it in my power to harm all of you, but last night the God of your father said to me, Take care not to say anything to Jacob. Granted that you had to leave because you were longing for your father's house, why did you steal my gods? Jacob replied to Laban, I was frightened at the thought that you might take your daughters away from me by force. As for your gods, the one you find them with shall not remain alive. If with our kinsmen looking on you identify anything here as belonging to you, take it. Jacob had no idea that Rachel had stolen the household images. Laban then went in and searched Jacob's tents and Leah's tents as well as the tents of the two maidservants, but he did not find them. Leaving Leah's tent, he went into Rachel's. Meanwhile, Rachel had taken the household images, put them inside the camel's saddlebag, and seated herself upon them. When Laban had rummaged through her whole tent without finding them, she said to her father, Do not let my lord be angry that I cannot rise in your presence. I am having my period. So, despite his search, he did not find the household images. Jacob, now angered, confronted Laban and demanded, What crime or offense have I committed that you should hound me? Now that you have rummaged through all my things, what have you found from your household belongings? Produce it here before your kinsmen and mine, and let them decide between the two of us. In the 20 years that I was under you, no ewe or she goat of yours ever miscarried, and I have never eaten rams of your flocks. I never brought you an animal torn by wild beasts. I made good the loss myself. You held me responsible for anything stolen by day or night. Often the scorching heat devoured me by day and the frost by night, while sleep fled from my eyes. Of the 20 years that I have now spent in your household, I served you 14 years for your 2 daughters and 6 years for your flock, while you changed my wages 10 times. If the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac had not been on my side, you would now have sent me away empty handed. But God saw my plight and the fruits of my toil, and last night he reproached you. Laban replied to Jacob, the daughters are mine, their children are mine, and the flocks are mine. Everything you see belongs to me. What can I do now for my own daughters and for the children they have borne? Come now, let us make a covenant, you and I, and it will be a treaty between you and me. Then Jacob took a stone and set it up as a sacred pillar. Jacob said to his kinsmen, gather stones. So they got stones and made a mound, and they ate there at the mound. Laban called it Jegar Shahadutha, but Jacob called it Galid. Laban said, this mound will be a witness from now on between you and me. That is why it was named Galid. And also Mizpah, for he said, may the Lord keep watch between you and me when we are out of each other's sight. If you mistreat my daughters or take other wives besides my daughters, know that even though no one else is there, God will be a witness between you and me. Laban said further to Jacob, here is this mound, and here is the sacred pillar that I have set up between you and me. This mound will be a witness, and this sacred pillar will be a witness, that with hostile intent I may not pass beyond this mound into your territory, nor may you pass beyond it into mine. May the God of Abraham and the God of Nahor, the God of their father, judge between us. Jacob took the oath by the fear of his father Isaac. He then offered a sacrifice on the mountain and invited his kinsmen to share in the meal. When they had eaten, they passed the night on the mountain. Chapter 22. Early the next morning, Laban kissed his grandchildren and his daughters and blessed them. Then he set out on his journey back home. Meanwhile, Jacob continued on his way, and God's angels encountered him. When Jacob saw them, he said, this is God's encampment. So he named the place Mahanaim. Envoys to Esau. Jacob sent messengers ahead to his brother Esau in the land of Seir, the country of Edom, ordering them, thus you shall say to my lord Esau, thus says your servant Jacob, I have been residing with Laban and have been delayed until now. I own oxen, donkeys, and sheep, as well as male and female servants. I have sent my lord this message in the hope of gaining your favor. When the messengers returned to Jacob, they said, we found your brother Esau. He is now coming to meet you, and 400 men are with him. Jacob was very much frightened. In his anxiety, he divided the people who were with him, as well as his flocks, herds, and camels, into two camps. If Esau should come and attack one camp, he reasoned, the remaining camp may still escape. Then Jacob prayed, God of my father Abraham and God of my father Isaac, you, Lord, who said to me, go back to your land and your relatives, and I will be good to you. I am unworthy of all the acts of kindness and unfaithfulness that you have performed for your servant. Although I crossed the Jordan here with nothing but my staff, I have now grown into two camps. Save me from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau. Otherwise I fear that he will come and strike me down, and the mothers with the children. You yourself said, I will be very good to you, and I will make your descendants like the sands of the sea, which are too numerous to count. After passing the night there, Jacob selected from what he had with him a present for his brother Esau: 200 she-goats and 20 he-goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams, 30 female camels and their young, 40 cows and 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys and 10 male donkeys. He put these animals in the care of his servants in separate herds, and he told the servants, go on ahead of me, but keep some space between the herds. He ordered the servant in the lead, when my brother Esau meets you and asks, To whom do you belong? Where are you going? To whom do these animals ahead of you belong? Tell him, to your servant Jacob, but they have been sent as a gift to my lord Esau. Jacob himself is right behind us. He also ordered the second servant and the third and all the others who followed behind the herds. Thus and so you shall say to Esau when you reach him. And also tell him, your servant Jacob is right behind us. For Jacob reasoned, if I first appease him with a gift that precedes me, then later when I face him, perhaps he will forgive me. So the gifts went on ahead of him while he stayed that night in the camp. Jacob's new name. That night, however, Jacob arose, took his 2 wives with the 2 maidservants, and his 11 children, and crossed the ford of the Jabbok. After he got them and brought them across the wadi and brought over what belonged to him, Jacob was left there alone. Then a man wrestled with him until the break of dawn. When the man saw that he could not prevail over him, he struck Jacob's hip at its socket, so that Jacob's socket was dislocated as he wrestled with him. The man then said, let me go, for it is daybreak. But Jacob said, I will not let you go until you bless me. What is your name? The man asked. He answered, Jacob. Then the man said, you shall no longer be named Jacob but Israel, because you have contended with divine and human beings and have prevailed. Jacob then asked him, please tell me your name. He answered, why do you ask for my name? With that he blessed him. Jacob named the place Peniel, because I have seen God face to face, he said, yet my life has been spared. At sunrise, as he left Peniel, Jacob limped along because of his hip. That is why, to this day, the Israelites do not eat the sciatic muscle that is on the hip socket, because he had struck Jacob's hip socket at the sciatic muscle. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Job chapter 21. Job's sixth reply. Then Job answered and said, at least listen to my words, and let that be the consolation you offer. Bear with me while I speak, and after I have spoken you can mock. Is my complaint toward any human being? Why should I not be impatient? Look at me and be appalled. Put your hands over your mouths. When I think of it, I am dismayed, and shuddering seizes my flesh. Why do the wicked keep on living, grow old, become mighty in power? Their progeny is secure in their sight. Their offspring are up before their eyes. Their homes are safe without fear, and the rod of God is not upon them. Their bulls breed without fail. Their cows calve and do not miscarry. They let their young run free like sheep. Their children skip about. They sing along with drum and lyre and make merry to the sound of the pipe. They live out their days in prosperity and tranquilly go down to Sheol. Yet they say to God, depart from us, for we have no desire to know your ways. What is the Almighty that we should serve him, and what do we gain by praying to him? Their happiness is not in their own hands. The designs of the wicked are far from me. How often is the lamp of the wicked put out? How often does destruction come upon them? The portion God allots in his anger. Let them be like straw before the wind, like chaff the storm carries away. God is storing up the man's misery for his children. Let him requite the man himself so that he knows it. Let his own eyes behold his calamity, and the wrath of the Almighty let him drink. For what interest has he in his family after him, when the number of his months is finished? Can anyone teach God knowledge, seeing that he judges those on high? One dies in his full vigor, wholly at ease and content. His figure is full and nourished. His bones are moist with marrow. Another dies with a bitter spirit, never having tasted happiness. Alike they lie down in the dust, and worms cover them both. See, I know your thoughts and the arguments you plot against me. For you say, where is the house of the great, and where the dwelling place of the wicked? Have you not asked the wayfarers, and do you not acknowledge the witness they give? On the day of calamity the evil man is spared. On the day that wrath is released, who will charge him to his face about his conduct? And for what he has done, who will repay him? He is carried to the grave, and at his tomb they keep watch. Sweet to him are the clouds of the valley. All humankind will follow after him, and countless others before him. How empty the consolation you offer me! Your arguments remain a fraud. Eliphaz's third speech. Then Eliphaz the Temanite answered and said, can a man be profitable to God? Can a wise man be profitable to him? Does it please the Almighty that you are just? Does he gain if your ways are perfect? Is it because of your piety that he reproves you, that he enters into judgment with you? Is not your wickedness great, your iniquity endless? You keep your relatives' goods in pledge unjustly. Leave them stripped naked of their clothing. To the thirsty you give no water to drink, and from the hungry you withhold bread, as if the land belonged to the powerful and only the privileged could dwell in it. You send widows away empty handed, and the resources of orphans are destroyed. Therefore, snares are round about you, sudden terror makes you panic, or darkness you cannot see, a deluge of water covers you. Does not God in the heights of the heavens behold the top of the stars, high though they are? Yet you say, what does God know? Can he judge through the thick darkness? Clouds hide him so that he cannot see as he walks around the circuit of the heavens. Do you indeed keep to the ancient way trodden by the worthless? They were snatched before their time, their foundations a river swept away. They said to God, let us alone, and what can the Almighty do to us? Yet he had filled their houses with good things. The designs of the wicked are far from me. The just look on and are glad, and the innocent deride them. Truly our enemies are destroyed, and what was left to them fire has consumed. Settle with them and have peace. That way good shall come to you. Receive instruction from his mouth, and place his words in your heart. If you return to the Almighty, you will be restored. If you put iniquity far from your tent, and treat raw gold as dust, the fine gold of Ophir as pebbles in the wadi, then the Almighty himself shall be your gold and your sparkling silver. For then you shall delight in the Almighty. You shall lift up your face toward God, entreat him, and he will hear you, and your vows you shall fulfill. What you decide shall succeed for you, and upon your ways light shall shine. For when they are brought low, you will say it is pride, but downcast eyes he saves. He will deliver whoever is innocent. You shall be delivered if your hands are clean. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.